Brought to you by the Spring Games, the largest college softball event in the world. Catch all the action at thespringgames.com.
Welcome. This is the Faithful Coach Podcast.
Hey gang, welcome back to Faithful Coach Podcast. I'm Bob Pinto, your host. I have with me today Dana Jenkins. Hey Dan.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
What's going on?
That's Dana's favorite intro. Whoop whoop.
Yeah, that's right.
And she,
Whoop, whoop.
while you were listening to the intro music, and that's, by the way, that's Dot's voice at the beginning, my beautiful bride, and then the drums, and Dana was air drumming it. So that's just so you can picture that going on.
Yeah, that's
Dana
right.
air drumming it. We also have a very special guest today. What's funny is he's a drummer too, so he loves our intro music. But we have Mark Ritchhart, who I met back in Florida in the before 2010, not sure the year. Neither one of us, we're both around 60 years old, so we don't remember exactly what year that occurred, but we did coach against each other many times, and always great to have Mark. Mark's a good Christian man. He loves the Lord, and he loves softball, and he has a story today that we all need to hear, because like Dan and myself, he had a hard time at his previous job, actually lost it, and he wants to tell the story. Dan and I thought it'd be great for you to hear, because we know a lot of people go through this. How many, we don't know. I'm sure there's a lot, and I'm sure there's more to come. So without further ado, Mark, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate that a lot.
Yep.
And Dana, it's good to have you on, and Bob. We do go way back, so it's really cool to be on with you. So
really
thank
cool.
you, sir, for inviting me.
Yeah, we're all in this together, right? Yeah. Christian coaches, Christians in general. We're in this together. Yeah. That's why we started this group and this podcast, Faithful Coach, because we know, and I keep saying this, I say this over and over. I don't know if Dana's tired of hearing it, but the persecution's real, and it's going to get worse, and we need to address it. We need to help each other. We need to support each other, pray for each other, love on each other, teach each other. How can we, better serve our athletes and Christ and the institutions or the travel ball program, whatever it is. So Mark, I'm going to give you the floor, and if we have any questions, we'll just interject. But take it away, brother.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, first, thank you for doing what you're doing, Bob. I think it's definitely impacting my life, and I know it is several other coaches, and many more to come. So thank you. And Dan, I loved hearing your story on that last podcast about what you're doing with the with FCA softball. That is amazing, and gosh, I just look forward to learning more and more about that. So
thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah, thank you for the work you're doing, and I can picture you out in the field with the girls and doing your whoop whoop. And so
that's right.
That's a good way to start, isn't it?
Yeah, she does a lot more than whoop whoop, I'm sure. We'll have to. That's a whole nother podcast we'll get into.
That's a whole nother That's a whole nother episode. That's right.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Well, just for what my thought process is to get things started. The persecution is real, Bob, just like you said, and Dan, I know you know that, and so I just want to say I'm not trying to compare to the persecution is such a big word. I'm not trying to compare to some people, obviously that we both read in the Word and know that's out there that's been imprisoned and even killed for their faith, but it is real, and the harassment, intimidation, the silence, even punishment and stuff, that it's been really hurtful, and it's just been really amazing experience. And So all I am just trying to do God's work, and so thankful that I've been saved by grace through faith, and just want to keep plugging away. But persecution to this level that happened to me fairly recently, within the past couple of years, is something I hadn't dealt as strongly, as far as hadn't had that opportunity, that to happen to me. I haven't had it to that extent. And so it's definitely been something I'm worked through, certainly during it, but still working through even today with still feeling some of the hurt on different things. So anyway, I just want to, when Jesus said, I take the spiritual walk very, very seriously in every aspect of my life. And when the school that I was applying to back 6 years ago now, their theme was Christ above all. And that is a big statement. And it fit, I guess, not trying to be boastful at all, but it fits where I'm at as far as trying everything I can to have Christ above all. I think I could have said that when I was younger, that Christ was above my wife, that Christ was above my children, things like that. I don't know if that was necessarily true. And it is definitely true today. Christ, I'm trying to live a life and get into the Word daily, and to pray, and to have evidence that Christ is actually above all. And so when I found a school that was their theme, I thought it'd be a great fit. And it was a wonderful fit for a long time. But, I believe Luke talks about the Christ says, count the costs. And so it is, I think that's a big statement for me, is remembering to count the costs. Like, if I'm going to say that, if I'm going to put that out there in my life, whether I'm on the softball field or not, I need to count the costs of what that means. Because I need to be, and we need to be as believers, bold about our faith. And there's so many people that are hypocritical, right? If you ask people, oftentimes you ask the world, so to speak, you ask people around you, your neighborhood, your people. Most people believe they're going to heaven. Most people believe they're good people and stuff like that. And I found out not too long ago what in Latin, I guess, and honestly, I don't know if I'm kind of like nervous saying this, because I wonder if it was one of the podcasts, or like, oh, you found out from, one of our podcasts. But I found out what the word hypocrite means in like Latin, and it was actor. And I thought it was so cool to find that out, because I remember when I first got to the college that had Christ above all, I was asking the players about their walk and things like that. Well, I remember one particular player who's doing amazing right now. Hannah Shields is her name, and she talked about how she was struggling because of the hypocrites and stuff around college and around in general with the spiritual walk. They say one thing, they do something else. And so I just remember that being so clear to me, that the whole actor thing, made me really take note of, I did not want to be an actor. If I said something, I wanted to do it. If I said whatever I said in the, in practices or, devotionals or whatever that we had for the team at this Christian college, that if they saw me in Walmart and maybe I didn't see them, they saw the same person. If they would hear me on the other side of the wall or the door at my house or something, they would hear the same person. And I really wanted that to happen. And so obviously fall short of the glory of God, but in the direction of trying to do all I can to serve and glorify Him and be obedient to His word. So
I like that. Yeah. I like the I didn't know that the being a hypocrite, that the Latin derivative is actor. I like that though. That's powerful.
Yeah, it is. It's really a wake up call.
Yeah.
I remember one of the scriptures that going through this that I was memorizing was it was 2 Corinthians 13:5, to examine yourself, to see if you're in the genuine genuine faith. Test yourself to see if Christ is among you. And if not, then you fail to test a genuine faith. So just to constant examine yourself. So I remember learning, back in the 90s about rest, rise, resume, like always keeping that. I kind of actually, it wasn't rest, rise, resume. It was stop, start, continue, of where I was learning this from, as far as I think it was the sports psychologist that worked with Mike Candrea. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of his name. Anyway, so I got the stop, start, continue, and he was, I think he was saying that with the Arizona program regarding, what do we need to stop doing according to our goals? What do we need to stop doing? What do we need to start doing? What do we need to continue doing and stuff? And so I kind of, through the years, I flipped the words a little bit so they all had R in it: rest, rise, resume. And according to, same thing, what do we need to put to rest, rise up and do, and resume doing? And so I started doing that in my individual life, as far as according to what I say that I am, who that I say that I am, who that I believe, according to my mission, to my goals. And also did this with my family and my family's meetings we had every 6 months with my wife and daughters. Okay, according to what we believe as a family, what do we need to put to rest? Are we watching too much TV? Are we watching the wrong kind of TV? Are we eating too much ice cream? What do we need to rise up and do? Maybe we need to go and do, some type of more mission work or greet our neighbors more, or whatever the case. And then what do we need to continue, and resume doing? I thought that was kind of a neat thing that I've used for my team as well as individuals. And this comes in handy. That came in handy with what I was dealing with regarding the persecution as well. Okay. What do I need to personally, put to rest? And it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as there was a false accusation back in January 21. It was very false. Matter of fact, there was a need of video evidence. They had the video evidence, but it kept snowballing into a meeting that I had, with the team, because they weren't getting along. We're a Christian college that has Christ above all. So that product that went out, I want to make sure that we were exactly that. Our sportsmanship showed that how we got along together showed that. And it wasn't showing that. And we were a few days, just 3 or 4 days before our first conference game. So I had a meeting, with the team, and said, I gave, scriptures and stuff. Again, Christian school, Christ above all, gave scriptures about, coming together, unified together, and to show Christ when we're out competing against other teams. Well, long story short, that evidently became retaliation on what was turned in January, a false accusation. So the entire semester was brutal. And there was, investigation, and went to Title IX, et cetera. It was just really, really brutal. And I wasn't allowed to, change captains, which I needed to. I wasn't allowed to discipline. And that was absolutely huge. And I'm embarrassed to say what I'm about ready to say, but I'm going to humble myself and say it, because it can get this bad. I was not allowed to discipline at all. And so I had a captain that would, when they came off the defense and it was ready to prepare them for offense, there was three times during the season that I had to huddle, and she pulled the team away. And I wasn't allowed. I was stunned, and I would try to pull it back, but I was just really caught off guard. And I'm sad in some ways that I didn't do something about it, but I really didn't want to lose my job, and I wanted to keep my job. I loved it there. My wife loved it there, and had a lot of wonderful friends there. So just really tough things. They end up not having anything of, when the judgment sort of came out, there was nothing that I was, being, there was nothing that year of 21 except for the fact that I needed to meet with the new administrators during the summer and to figure out all these things that were being, said against me. And I wasn't allowed to let anybody go in the summer, and I really needed to, and it wasn't allowed that. So just quickly, the next year I brought, there were several I had already committed to come, just looking for the right fits and the right kind of people. And when I had an All-American pitcher, actually, she ended up being an All-American pitcher that first year. And I had her come in. She was very bought into the program and me. And some of these girls had a meeting, a private meeting about her. If you did not like this girl, because she did buy into the program and buy into me, if you did not like her, come to this meeting. And so when I found out about the meeting, when I found out about what the players were saying, the administration did not do anything at all, like nothing. And so it was just really hurtful with the new administration. And I really, they were both at the school before I got there, and I really loved them, and I still do, and really like them as people and love them. And I was just having a hard time of why they weren't even talking to my coaches about this. They were talking to a few players, but they weren't talking to my coaches. And so I begged them. I remember a meeting in the summer. I begged, please talk to my coaches. Please talk to my coaches. And after they would not, finally, a couple of them actually went in to speak, and it was really interesting conversation, which is another topic. So anyway, so there was a lot of things going on. I even had to sign a paper in December by the athletic director, if I did one more thing wrong, then I would be fired. And I looked at her after reading. I said, please tell me the one thing I did wrong. Please tell me what I did. She said, please just sign the paper. And so she was begging me to sign, but she could not tell me. And so it was really, really hard. And I'm leaving out a lot of stuff because I feel like I want to get to the meat of stuff of how to handle this stuff. But the next year it was the same, or that was this past or a year ago fall. And then in January, we just battling with stuff still had the same people, but I had a new group of people that were bought in as well. And we did well. We end up, winning the school's first conference championship, first conference title. And that was really cool. And going to the national tournament, and we beat the number 6 team in the country. And that was really amazing. So God, throughout the whole thing, he was always taking care of me, but the hurt of it was quite amazing. The no response, from the administration and I feel there's so much part of me that was feeling that we're just biding the time to get through the season. And then no matter what happened or how we did or whatever, I was going to get let go. And so, and that's what happened. Just a few weeks after the national tournament, when we arrived back, I was brought in my office. It was about actually at 10 o'clock the morning after Memorial Day. I was asked how I would let somebody go, and it was just kind of a normal conversation, because I was possibly looking at letting somebody go from the program, and I was looking at that, and I wanted to see how the new administration would like me to do it. So trying to be respectful of them, and should you tell somebody that you're that, hey, you have you can resign, from it, or should you just, what should you do and stuff. And so the athletic director asked me at 10 o'clock that morning how I would let somebody go. And I said to her, I said, something that's always bothered me is not telling the person why. I think that people should kind of know so they can make improvements, but I understand legally a lot of times people don't want to say that. And then I said, if it wasn't anything that was, this criminal, that they're, possibly doing criminal time or whatever, and stuff, I said, I think that probably should have a chance to resign and stuff. So they won't be so hard to find the next position, things like that. So I didn't think much. I honestly didn't think anything of it. And 6 hours later, 4 p.m., I got called in and got let go without any of the advice even I gave. Just a straight pack up for the day, and that'll be the last thing and that you'll have. So I'm so again, I just don't want to make that sound boastful, but I'm in the place where I did not argue back at all. I did not ask why, because I'd been through so much. She said, "Do you have any questions?" And I said, "I'd like to. I don't have a home computer, and may I get the stuff off the computer that's my personal stuff? And the school provided a phone. May I get the stuff off the phone that's my personal, because I had all my pictures. We didn't have a home phone or anything. I had all my stuff." And she said, "We'll definitely work on that." And so I can tell you there was a part of me that was quite a weight lifted off my shoulders, but there was a huge part of, we were only paying $350 rent because we were living on campus, and where I am now it's $1,200. So it was just a lot. My wife and I, like I said, we loved it there, and it was it was quite a change. We were we were in the process of winning. Felt like we were finally turning the program completely around to of a winning program, because that pitcher, and we had a starting freshman shortstop and some other starting freshman catcher, and so there was definitely a strong program that felt like it was come. But I looking back, I honestly I feel like looking back I could have left, because it was so hard. And the hardest part, I think, was not just the players coming to, not just few of the players coming against me, but it was the administration, and that was really hard, because I just feel with true believers, that they should not treat each other that way. The true believers of Christ should never treat each other that way. And I know the word Christian is thrown around quite a bit in our country. So it's, there should be evidence of the Christ follower. And, it was just really hard. And so I just, everything I was about, not just when it happened, and it definitely ramped up, but everything I was going through the last couple of years, I am so glad that I just turned more and more of my attention to Christ, and drawing close to him, he'll draw close to us. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I went to memorizing scriptures and trying to figure out, I've always been one, I may not do it right away, as far as when somebody is criticizing me or coming against, I may not do it at that moment, but when I get home, I am quick to say, okay, what can I improve on? What can I do better at? What can I, how can I improve? And so I've definitely gone through all that and wrestled with that. But the stuff I was hearing was just really brutal. Just really, really brutal. Much of which were not only completely false, but very twisted.
Let me ask you.
One girl
I'm sorry to interrupt. Let me ask you a question, Mark, just to clarify. Yeah. So the persecution or the allegations were in 2020, and then you finished coaching that year and a full next year. Is that right?
Yeah, full next year. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the accusations were, there was like 4 counts or whatever with that were going against me at the school, at the school Title IX, and the only one that ended up sticking was that they said my meeting in February to pull everybody together was retaliation on what I was being accused of back in January, which was 100% false, and even with video evidence. So they said I retaliated, and with that, I would have to meet with the two new administrators on a regular basis in the summer. And so, but I can continue to coach, and everything was fine, and everything was good. And I thought we were back on track, and it really wasn't that way altogether. I just was kind of naive and expecting it that way. Then I had COVID a year ago in August, and wow, that was tough. So
there's a lot of
brain fog.
Yeah, you get a lot. That's what we hear, brain fog. But yeah, like you said, it's interesting about I mean, Christians, we're tougher on Christians are tougher on each other than even the outside world is on us sometimes. And it's very, like you said at the beginning, you're talking about, or I don't know if I said it at the beginning of the recording or when we were talking before, that people say they're Christians and then they don't act like Christians. I mean, it's very difficult to handle. Dana was not at a Christian school, but she had the same exact thing, retaliation, right? Wasn't that the same thing?
Yeah. As soon as you said retaliation, I was like, wow, and it was, as you guys heard my story, the complete opposite of retaliation. You're trying to do the right thing by the kids and, be above reproach in what you do, and they call it retaliation, and you're going, holy cow, where are you getting that from? That's tough.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Very
absolutely. Everything, just every step of the way, with the coaching staff, with it was trying to show Christ. And it's not that hard it's not that hard in sports to show, the good sportsmanship and good character, and be kind to be respectful of umpires, being respectful of fans, being respectful of the other team, the other coaches. I feel my role is very clear, is to show Christ to everyone, and to have, trying to have that team and put the right people in it to buy into that. It's just very clear. And I felt that we were doing very, very well at it, but it flipped. It just takes one. And when I got there, what was bothering me when I got there to the school 6 years ago is that they had fired another coach, and there were three players that were boasting about getting that coach fired. And I remember talking not only to those players, but to administration, going that, the boastfulness is wrong. Who's going to stop? Because we should not be boastful for anything really, except for boasting on Christ, right? So we should not be boastful. Who's going to kind of to stop them from doing that and stuff? And I guess it was me going, hey, we shouldn't do that. It's a man's career. It's a woman's career. It's like, and you don't want to do that. And I, found out that that's, I think, it's today's day and age. It's really easy to get people, to get on a bandwagon. And I have a friend that's a school administrator and she's saying it's so hard because we so have to oftentimes just totally go in the direction of the parent, or the student, or, these lawsuits and, all these things come against you. So
yeah,
it's really, really hard. So
it is hard. And I don't know, I would venture to say 90% of things like this, when they happen, are because the athlete and or the parents don't like the coach, or they're not playing or whatever. And then the school, instead of administration backing the coaches, they always seem to back the athletes. And I know Kristen Butler, you know Kristen and Marcus, right, Mark? Yeah.
I coached against Kristen when she was at CFCA.
Yeah. They had the same situation at Rutgers. I mean, they didn't lose their job, but they were accused of things, and they were fortunate that their administration backed them. But we're going to have to get them on as well. But did you see? And so were the same player? Do you think the players that boasted about getting that other coach fired, were they the same players involved with your situation?
No, there was a change. They met each other in, as upperclassmen and freshmen. they met each other. So no, not the same, but
we all know once you lose the support of your administration, that's the easiest way to hamstring a coach, right?
Mm.
You've got no support system that's going to say, hey, let's, even if like it sounded like Mark, like you did what I did. I went to my AD at one point and said, hey, look into it. Come to practice, come travel with us. Just be with us as much as possible so that you can see. And I knew I was in trouble when he said, no, I don't want to do that. And I was like, oh, so you don't want to look into it? Like you don't want to personally check it out. I was like, oh, that's tough. That's tough.
That hit a nerve with me too, Dana, because there was 3 administrators in the room, and when they said, one said that I wasn't remorseful enough, and I was just taken back by that, remorseful, and I did not feel at all I was being boastful, and I had cried in the 2 administrators' offices because of how much it hurt, and really, really sincerely was so bothered that this was all going on, and the kids were possibly seeing a different. I wanted the kids to see Christ, and it was so bothering me that they felt, that they weren't or whatever. And that was just so affecting me. But I said to them, Dana, I said, with all due respect, you have not talked to my coaches still, and you have only talked to a few players. I said, none of the 3 of you have been to one of my practices. You've never been to any of my games and been close enough to the dugout. You've never heard me talk to my team in any team meetings or devotionals. I said, with all due respect, you're without talking to the coaches and of what really goes on there. What do you do? And they didn't have really any comeback on that.
Yeah.
All because they knew. So
they didn't want to have a comeback on it. It seems like these administrators don't want the aggravation. So the easiest thing is to just let the coach go and find somebody else. Just let's appease the kids and their parents so they don't sue or whatever. And I'm saying, shame on you, administrators, all of you, whoever you are. I mean, it's especially if you're a Christian administrator, just terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But
we have to stand up for Christ, right? Mm-hmm. If you want to avoid persecution, be like the world, right? We have to stand up for Christ, and if we stand up, we will be persecuted. It says, I believe it's Paul and Timothy. They said, like everybody who wants a godly life, they will be persecuted. If they want to live in Christ Jesus, they will be persecuted. And I think that's just to try to get that, like, okay, that's got to be. My problem was I felt it was happening and knew it was coming, but it says in one of the scriptures to be glad. I was having trouble rejoicing.
Consider it all joy, my friends. Yeah.
Yes. And to be so hurtful. So,
but just to your defense, Mark, and every other Christian coach, it does say we're going to be persecuted, but we're not. Christians aren't supposed to persecute Christians. It doesn't. I mean, the Bible said that when Paul talks about that, you don't do that to each other.
Yeah. Right.
And they did it. They did it to me. They did it to you. I'm sure there's a dozen others. I know Dana knows. Mark. We know plenty of coaches that are cursing and treating their players terribly, and nothing ever happens to them. Nothing ever happens. It's amazing, right? I mean, I can name them. I won't, but it's just because they win. I don't know. Maybe they recruit the players that like the cursing and don't mind being abused or treated poorly or whatever. But
right.
It's I did ask Jim Gasso one time. I said, Jim, I know Patty wins all the time, so there must not be many problems on that team. And he just laughed and said, no, there's problems on Patty's team as well. So people just don't get it. It's sad, but that's the way it is. Did you have any questions, Dan?
No, I just, that your story resonates, one with me, but I think it's going to resonate with a lot of other coaches. And I think the big thing that we want to kind of hone in on and really touch on this episode is, yes, the persecution and all that kind of stuff, but what are we doing in the meantime? Like when that hits, like you guys have said, both of you guys said, consider it all joy. Man, that's hard. That's a lot easier said than done. So, you had referenced before that you went to specific scriptures. Were there just like a couple of scriptures that you just felt like God was just putting in front of you and just saying, hey, this is it? Like, and what does that mean? Like when you said you referenced them, like, did you keep them in front of you? A lot of people will put them on an index card and, put it somewhere where they're going to see it every day, whether it's a fridge or a mirror or whatever. But how did you continue to go to scripture?
Yeah. Good question. Thanks, Dana. Yeah. Remember I like the 3x5 cards. So I keep it with me and stuff. And I was disappointed the other day when one of my 3x5 cards that had 4 scriptures on it, it got washed. So I was, but yeah, I like the 3x5 cards and keep it in front of me. But I remember making I had a side of a table that faced my chair that I sit in the living room. And it was a good side. I made a big poster board and taped it to the side of the table that I was always staring at it when I was in my chair in the living room, and it was filled with scriptures. And every time I looked at it, I would memorize it. Memorize the stuff, and it really, that memorization. Whether how sleep. Bob, on one of your podcasts, you talked about dreams and stuff like that, the sleep and, when we're kind of alone and stuff, man, we can get attacked so easily. So scriptures that I was memorizing were really blessing me. So much of what I was writing in the car, I was getting ready for sleep or just waking up, or when a thought would come in my mind that was possibly negative, because we're supposed to pray for the ones who persecute us. Yeah. And love everyone. So it's like, oh man, if I get a negative thought, I needed to move as quickly as I possibly could to the scriptures. So the poster in front of me was good. I would with a dry erase marker, I would write stuff on my bathroom mirror as well, and that was helpful. And certainly the 3x5 card. So it was I had to keep it in front of me. I couldn't carry this, the Bible around all the time. So I had to keep these things, in front of me. And it was really, really so helpful when I started memorizing. I remember the very first scripture on that table was, if the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first. John 15. If you belong to the world, I love this. If you belong to the world, they will love you as their own. But as it is, I love this. As it is, you do not belong to the world. So he's talking about really committed, believing Christians, right? As it is, you do not belong to the world. That's why the world hates you. If they persecuted me, they'll persecute you. If they obey my commands, they'll obey yours also. They treat you this way because of my name. They do not know the one who sent me. Jesus is speaking this in John. I love that. Yeah. I just love that kind of thing. Those kind of scriptures were getting me through a lot of the, and of course the Lord throughout, blessed me not only with the word, but my wife was incredibly supportive. Amazing. It was hurtful to hear the things that was, going with her against her husband, but she was so supportive. Pete Massagill, who's a part of this group, he was amazing with me and just truly a supportive brother. My church, a few players that came in, like that pitcher, the shortstop, they were amazing support systems as well, knowing that I was going through stuff from the year before and currently, and then realized they started to go through it because they bought into me and the program, and the pitcher led the shortstop to Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Wow!
During just amazing, and they both when I got let go, they both went to different schools and stuff as well. So just the Lord was keeping me afloat, and even with encouraging umpires was amazing. Just amazing. I was about ready to go to a really tough meeting at a loss at the very last game of the season of the loss in the national tournament. And I knew it was going to be tough. And I knew that I just knew it wasn't looking good in that particular game. And had a umpire come to me. I've never met him before. He was at the national tournament. He said, "I see Christ in you." Mm-hmm. And I just melt. I said, "Sir, you have no idea what that means to me right now." And I pray for that man every day. Mm. I so, as Lord brought people to build it up. And I am very clear. If you ask me if I'm a good person, I will say no. Because here's what right? Jesus Christ said himself, to the rich and ruler, there is no one good but God. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's my basing myself. Like, no. Do I try to do good? Yes. Am I? No. We're born in a sinful world, and I'm battling every day. That's why I love. Is it Luke 9? Anyway, Luke 9. I don't know, 23 or something. If you want to be my disciples, Jesus says, pick up your cross daily. I love the daily part. Mm-hmm. Just one time. Don't just, yes, I'm saved, and then we're going to live like however we want to the rest of our lives. Pick up your cross daily and follow me if you want to be my disciple. So So
that's awesome, Mark, because you just about covered it all. When we go through things like this, anything in life doesn't have to be, getting fired from our jobs or being persecuted by other Christians, but we need to, like you said, we need to be in the Word. We need to seek Jesus. We need to get to, memorize scriptures, find other believers. That was a question I had. If you had other support from other believers, and you said you did. I mean, all those things are key when you're going through the valleys in life, because you will go through valleys, right? I think Dr. Falwell said, you're either in a valley or you're going to be going into a valley soon. So we need to know that they're coming. And Christ is the only one that, he walks us through those valleys, like it said. But I wanted to ask one, Dan, do you have anything else? Interesting?
No, that's good. Go ahead. You go ahead.
Yeah, just one last thing, Mark, if you can, and maybe you don't recall, but were there any warning signs that you could share with coaches that this might be coming that you can think of?
I was, let's see, let me think about that. I was caught off guard pretty well. And when I first heard the first accusation, I didn't take it very seriously, although it was serious, but I knew that was not even close to being true. So I just kind of shoved it aside. And that should have been a warning, should have been a warning sign. Yeah. I do like to be liked. And so I was like, oh, that's, it's just not seeing the, just not seeing the truth out of that. And that's too bad. And so, so I should have taken that more seriously as a warning sign with something was up, because the players, especially if they're in certain cliques and groups, they're very tight. And then there was some snowball things that happened after that. So I think that, probably, without stumbling too much in my words, the biggest warning sign, I think that I've probably already shared. If you're living for Christ, and Christ is number one in your life and truly above all, then expect the warning signs on a regular basis. Yeah. Expect that there's going to be something that's going to come up. If you're not colliding with the enemy, basically, then you're going the same direction.
Oh, preach it, Mark.
I love I love the word colliding. I think about the Rocky Rocky, like with the Russian, right, colliding or whatever it was. And I use that word, I'm trying to get the backside to go into the firm front side, whether it's hitting or, throwing, pitching, whatever. I like the word colliding, but like, and I'm thinking about that. If I'm not colliding, if you and I and Dana, if we're not colliding with the enemy, then we're going the same direction. There should be a collision. That's, Jesus says, that he's the great I am. Well, the opposite of I am is sin, basically that he isn't sin. He hates sin. And if we're battling with what's right, we are going to be doing that. So I don't know if that makes sense, Bob, to your question about
actually
being on guard all the time, on guard, or putting the armor of God, right? Armor of God, Ephesians 6 all the time.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way. If you're a Christian coach out there or any Christian, you're going to be, there's going to be people attacking. So you got to be on guard constantly. And the Bible talks about that. That's what all the, the armor is for, the spiritual armor to keep us.
Yes. And yes, Bob. And let me add to that spiritual armor, though, right before the spiritual armor of the helmet of salvation, the breastplate of righteousness, right before that, it says we are not, it reminds us, though. So there's not hate in us. We have to have love in us, right? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. It reminds us in Ephesians 6, right before putting on the armor of God, that we're not fighting against flesh and blood.
Exactly.
Not have, to not have this resentment against the people at my former college. It is not easy. It is not easy to pray for them, but I myself to pray for them and love them unconditionally. And I want to, it took me all summer, but I did land a job, and I'm so grateful to be coaching again. And so thankful for that. So because of the growth, to me, it is constant growth. Right. And I grew through that, and I'm so thankful that he's taken me out of that for now to go into now another place. So, and awesome. I don't want to have resentment because that's against the word of God. So I need to continue to love and be grateful that he relieved me from more of that, more of those, the painful things. And I counted on him.
And you don't have to answer. This is really not a question, but I just want to let everybody know because with me, the hardest thing was forgiveness. But again, the Bible, Jesus says it, not 7 times, 70 times, 7 times. So I had to come to a place where I was able to forgive all those people. And, I don't know where you are on your walk, but if you're not there, that's going to be another step that you'll have to take. And Dan, I don't know what you forgave, right, Dan? I would imagine.
I did.
Yep.
Yep.
It brings more peace when you forgive and then pray for them.
Absolutely.
That's hard to pray for them. Tell us where you're coaching now, Mark, so people know.
Yeah. I accepted an assistant coaching job at Union University in Jackson, Tennessee. So it's pretty cool because I was in NAIA before this, and my first time in NCAA. So it's, just something different, pretty cool. And I just absolutely love the school. So Christ Center School, and I love the school. I love the team, the players. I love the head coach. And so I think the head coach was obviously nervous because I've never been really an assistant before. And I made it very clear, I am not trying to take your position. I want to see you grow. Her title is interim head coach. And I took her and her husband and I went out to eat 3 weeks ago. And I was very clear with them. My job is to take that worm away from your title. And so I'm going to support you all I can and love you, support you, and do all I can to help you build this program, but it's your program. And so I'm just thankful for where I am. I'm thankful for, just the Lord. I went to a job fair, even and finding out all these, because I've just been in education really since college and my whole life. And I went to a job fair and found out all these interesting places that you can work and things like that. But the Lord wanted me to keep coaching. So I'm just really grateful for that.
Cool.
That's
Very
awesome.
nice, Mark. And just give Mark has graciously said if you wanted to email him, he can help you with some scriptures if you're going through anything like this, or just any advice he might have for you. So, what's your email address, Mark?
Yeah. It's RITCH, another H, ART at bellsouth.net. RITCHART at bellsouth.net. Yeah, I have a list of a few tips and advice as well as some scriptures, and happy to share them with anybody.
Very kind of you. That's what we're here for, folks, to support and encourage and help each other through these difficult times. Dana, always a pleasure to be with you. I said you were my favorite co-host before, but I shouldn't. Dot's my favorite co-host, so I'm going to take that back. You're number 2.
I'm okay losing that to Todd.
Yes,
Yeah,
I better have corrected that. I thought about that before.
Right.
So, Mark, thank you again. God bless you, and we're praying for you and your team. And God's got great things ahead for you. Obviously, I mean, He brought you through it. He brought you through it, and He'll keep bringing you through it. He's with you, brother, and we're appreciative of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dana.
Everybody, we will talk to you soon. God bless you guys. Hi, guys. This is Bob Pinto, your host. You've been listening to Faithful Coach. Thank you for listening. We're so happy you're here. We're blessed to have you. We are a ministry and a podcast for, to, and by Christian coaches. We're here to encourage you, support you, teach you. We know what it's like to be Christian coaches, and we know how difficult it can be, and it's likely to get more difficult in the days to come. If you're not part of our group and you'd like to be, you can email me at bob@faithfulcoach.com. bob@faithfulcoach.com. Again, guys, thank you for listening. We hope you were encouraged today. We will talk to you soon. God bless you.